you are transitioning to or have already entered 5D. 5D consciousness is the awareness of being connected with your true higher God within yourself, with your true spirit. The first and most crucial sign of awakening is when your life starts falling apart like a meat grinder. Your finances, relationships, emotions, body and reality, everything shifts. At this moment, it's vital to accept everything as it is and understand what is happening to you right now. The space is pushing you toward a new level of purity. The second sign is when you have already gone through your transformation, you begin to feel trust, you start to hear your inner voice, you begin to understand that there is a higher power within you with which you are connected. You feel this unity, trust in this power, and you realize that everything that happens to you is exactly as it should be. The third sign is that you stop relying on the external world as if it were the truth. You understand that everything external is an illusion that only reflects your inner state. You start to choose yourself, you put yourself first, you realize that you are the center of your world. You begin to take steps from your heart. And accordingly, in this way, you come to your best life.
What is 5D? Why do they use this specific terminology? Well, let's begin. 5D is just a trendy term. Nothing more than that. There are no serious ancient texts, no traditions. There has been and is no transition to 5D. At the same time, a human is a multidimensional being. There is an incredible number of these dimensions. That is, by our very nature, we are multidimensional. 5, 6, 7, 100, 1,000. Yes, all of that exists. Having such a nature, we exist simultaneously in all the Ds, including just 1D. This topic can be developed further, but for now, let's leave it at that. In other words, we already have this. It is our true nature. Let's move on. So, connecting with your God within yourself, we are already connected with Him. We simply don't hear or see this, and we don't want to see or hear it. When you want to see and hear it, you begin to see and hear what you already have. It is already present. We are already connected. It's the same as with a person. There are people who want to know about their health, about their internal organs, and they take certain steps to find out about it. Tests, various examinations, MRIs, ultrasounds. And there are people who don't want to know about their health and only come to their senses when something has already fallen apart. It's the same here. The connection with the soul, we have it. Otherwise, we would be dead. Only a corpse has no connection with the soul. The question is whether you want to see and realize it or not. People who want to, they start to see it. And those who don't want to, they still have this connection. But because they don't want to, there is more chaos and misunderstanding in their lives. Let's move on. And
The very first sign of awakening is when life starts to fall apart.
here, this right here is actually a very interesting and unique. It's a controversial topic. On the one hand, I completely understand that when a person starts moving toward their soul and their heart, they see that their life begins to fall apart. They might say, everything in my life is just falling apart. But if we're being more honest, only what prevents this person from moving toward their soul is actually falling apart. If it's the car that's getting in the way, then it's the car, and something will happen to it. Either it will get stolen or they'll crash it. If something else is getting in the way of moving toward their soul, of perceiving their soul, their divinity in their heart, relationships, for example, I start listening to my heart, but let's say I have a girlfriend who's like, what are you sitting here for? Let's go party, let's go eat, let's go have sex. I say, yeah, leave me alone, let me meditate. So if she's getting in the way, she will be removed. And yes, I might say, oh, my relationship fell apart, but deep down I'll understand why it happened, because it was simply an obstacle that was removed.
So, does this apply to all areas of life? That is, for example, if you get fired from your job, or there are some accidents or situations happen with your parents. So, does this actually hinder the person?
Everything that gets in your way, not someone else's. For example, neither my job nor my parents might bother me, and nothing will happen to them. But they might be a hindrance. It's an individual process. And in fact, I am the one who decides whether something is hindering me or not them. So, for example, the same friend might keep pushing me, saying, "La, let's go here, let's go there," and I'll say, "No, wait, let me meditate." I won't reject her, I won't get aggressive with her, I won't harbor resentment that would prevent me from fulfilling myself. No, I will remain calm and harmonious. I can even say, listen, I'm going to go meditate for the next couple of hours. She'll say, yeah, no problem, go ahead and meditate. So she might not be an obstacle for me at all, and nothing will happen to her. There won't be any problems. The same goes for work. If I'm completely out of it, and let's say I need to wake up for work at 6 a.m., but at 6 a.m. I get up and start meditating instead, then obviously I'll get fired. But what if I just calmly do my job? No, I generate negativity towards it. That is, I do my job with pleasure. I even enjoy the process. And then when I've fulfilled my responsibilities, I come home and, if I have a free moment, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I sit down and listen to my soul. Nothing will happen to my job because of that. But if I come home like, oh, I had to do something there again, that thing again, oh, I'd rather just sit with my soul instead. And naturally, the soul will say, yeah, why do you even go there? Yeah, you just won't go anymore, that's all. Boom, you have no job. You can sit with your soul all day long if you want. In other words, we are the cause of what will fall apart and what will not. And this causality is determined not by I want to or I don't want to, but by your inner acceptance or rejection.
Can this also be related to a lesson that a person needs to go through? For example, the lesson of acceptance? Let's say, for instance, something in his life is falling apart in some area, and until he accepts it, truly lets it go, nothing will change.
Why won't it change? Will it just collapse and that's it?
If a person disagrees with it, doesn't understand, in other words, why and for what reason this is happening, in other words, he won't get out of this situation unless he realizes that he needs to let it go.
Wait, what does it mean to let go? For example, let's say I want to have a lot of money, but I got fired. What exactly am I supposed to let go of?
So he doesn't understand why this happened. For example,
So you need to dig a little into your memory and establish a cause and effect relationship.
what if that doesn't work?
You see, this word accept has become so excessively overused and so completely detached from reality that it actually ends up raising even more questions than it answers. Acceptance is a profound state that you are in, a deep energetic state. It is when your internal energy around your heart moves quite easily and completely effortlessly. That is the true essence of acceptance. And then, even when something unexpected happens, your inner state simply does not change at all. How is the energy moving from your heart? Freely and effortlessly, it keeps moving that way. That's acceptance, accepting the world as it is. But most people focus on the physical, and these processes don't exist in the physical realm. If we operate only within the physical, sooner or later we'll turn into fascists. Plain and simple, we need energy work. And in the realm of energy, these processes are hidden from physical perception. You need extrasensory perception to see these energetic processes. And so, when a person begins to transition toward the realm of extrasensory perception, toward energetic perception, they will unexpectedly discover that the exact same physical phenomenon, physical manifestation, can lead to completely opposite results. Why? Because there is another factor at play, an energetic one, which is hidden from perception. Let's say a situation at work. It is the exact same job and the same person, but across two different timelines. He comes to work, suddenly gets fired, and then his entire life falls apart until he becomes completely destitute. That's one timeline. It is the exact same person, the very same job, the identical situation. He comes to work and then he gets fired. He starts doing original creative work and becomes very well off. Why did this happen? On the level of physics, it's a dead end. It's unclear why it happened. If we approach it from the level of energy, it's not a dead end. It's an obvious reality. Here, he tensed up, became cramped, aggressive and embittered, and everything fell apart for him. Because no one needs someone who is aggressive and embittered. There's already enough of that here. And in another situation, he exhaled, relaxed, enjoyed the fact that he was finally free, and began to create with love, something that came from within him. And that made him wealthy, because when a person does something with love and uses, so to speak, their creative potential, in other words, draws something from the Akashic space, from the informational fields, and manifests it here, it's in high demand.
By the way, the video actually explicitly mentions that through such transformation, in this particular case, through the complete destruction of one's own life, trust and the skill of sensing are gradually developed over time.
Not destruction, the removal of obstacles.
The clearing away of obstacles, that is, it guides you directly to follow the voice, your inner intuition. It truly can
Lead you anywhere. No, it's not that something leads you anywhere. You go yourself. All right, let's keep watching this video.
It's like you're going through a meat grinder. Money.
If you go through a meat grinder, that's the end for you. because you identify with rejection. Everything is bad for me. I'm in a meat grinder. Everything is falling apart for me. You're already generating rejection. You're saying that everything is bad. You're already in trouble.
Already?
Your energy starts to reject all of this. Your heart closes at that moment. And
You must learn to practice acceptance and completely open your heart. That's how it works.
well, what do you mean, need to? If you look at all this and understand the essence, if you see this, the cause and effect connection, if your heart keeps burning, if you keep in touch with your soul, if you're honest with yourself, if you're honest with yourself, you'll tell yourself, damn, of course, this job was holding me back. Of course, I didn't want to go there. Yeah, that relationship had died a long time ago. We were all just going through the motions, doing something out of inertia. When you're honest with yourself, you admit it to yourself. If you haven't reached that level yet, then yes, you might say you're in a meat grinder. If you're honest, you'll say, yeah, damn, it's been time for a while now. It's already over. Just end it. Thank you to the soul for taking things into its own hands and mercilessly cutting it all off. Honesty, sincerity. It's all about energy. It's not about the physical anymore. On a physical level, we are cowardly creatures.
Money, relationships, consciousness, emotions, the body, physicality, everything can be rebuilt. Right now, it's...
She's already talking about rebuilding. Before it was a meat grinder, but now it's reconstruction. Transformation and a meat grinder are different. To some extent, is a meat grinder also transformation? That's also transformation. Yes, the body can be rebuilt, but it's pleasant to watch this happen. So this has its place.
It's important that you accept everything as it is and understand that right now, what is happening to you, the space is pushing you toward a new purity. The second sign, when you have already gone through your transformation, you start to feel trust, you begin to hear your inner voice.
Transformation. But if a person once again says that they're in a meat grinder, then from the very beginning, they're setting themselves up for negative consequences, for something that won't lead them to their inner voice, but instead to a voice that will say, stop. Chaos has started. It's time to put an end to this. We ourselves are the cause of everything that happens to us. We guide ourselves. We make our own decisions. And we shape our own consequences. But we shape those consequences not simply with our mind, but through the power of our vibrations. And vibrations cannot lie. So if a person looks at what's happening and says, this is a meat grinder, the consequences will be dire.
All right, so she actually names the second sign that a person develops intuition and an inner voice. Can this be called that?
If person's intuition develops only if it is in demand, well, that means you need this intuition. If your day is scheduled by the hour, why would you need intuition? Intuition develops in a person who constantly finds themselves in unfamiliar situations, who is constantly unprepared for what is happening to them, who ends up in places they've never been before. Such a person has a need for intuition. If someone is living the same day over and over, like in Groundhog Day, why would they need intuition?
So, should a person be in that kind of state? Yes?
No, they shouldn't.
Total trust?
They shouldn't.
They can.
None of us owes anyone anything. It all depends on the person themselves, on where they are striving to go. If we keep digging into this topic, we'll end up with me saying, why the hell are you living? Why the hell do you need this soul? What do you want from this world? And this is exactly where it all starts. What will develop in you and what won't, what you need and what you don't need. You see, it's not my first year, and probably not even my first decade. I've interacted with a huge number of different people with all kinds of requests. Sometimes someone comes to me, well, I sort of position myself as someone who works on spiritual development, moving toward freedom, getting out of illusions. And then someone comes and says, I came to you so that I could have a lot of money. I say, my dear, are you sure you're not lost? What are you doing here? Why did you come to me? Someone who promotes Srividya, who talks about Shriyan. Why did you come to me for money? You need to go to some kind of business training or a skills improvement course or get a new profession. I say, what are you doing here? Well, it should be easier through spirituality. I say no. It's easier when you acquire a skill and go and practice that skill. When a person turns to the soul, they're not going there for money. When a person turns to the creator, to the source, to the origin, they're not going there for that. Not so that, I don't know, they can have a double-door refrigerator at home or a more expensive car. But there are moments when people can be quite unpredictable. in such strange mental states that they turn to the origin, to the creator, just so their ass can be warm. Well, warmer than it is now. Why are you doing this?
Okay, so am I right in understanding that not everyone actually needs intuition?
Again, why does a person pursue inner development in connection with their own divinity and with their eternal soul? Why do they go into 5D transformation? For what purpose? And so, when a person is able to answer this question, this very question, then I can also answer whether they will have this intuition or not. You see, I recently returned from Tibet, not long ago, with my vision, extrasensory perception, and perception radars. I observed, according to my tradition, what is called Shiva, the God, the primordial, the original source. And so when you observe him and look at yourself, you have the opportunity to compare who you are and who he is. At the same time, you are clearly aware that you are one and the same. That is, how have you managed your unity, and in what state is he? He is in the primordial state. How have you built your decisions, your path, your life? And how is he as the ideal example that you now perceive? You see how, compared to him, you are fundamentally broken, constrained, distorted, and tense. You have lost a significant amount of perception, lost a great deal of love, and lost a lot of different types of energy vibrations. That is exactly what the practice of spirituality is truly intended for. When you see the perfect and divine source of the state and consciously align your entire being with it, you look at yourself and think, my God, how much more work do I still need to do to finally get closer to this state?
Is it possible to call this state awakening or enlightenment?
This can be called the path to understanding yourself and understanding the world we live in. And so, when a person sets themselves the task, even if only out of curiosity, of looking at the Creator, looking at their own energy, looking at multidimensionality, at what it looks like, there, questions of relationships, work, money, all of that do not arise. It's like some kind of noise, something superficial. But when you have personally witnessed all of this, experienced that state, and returned quite seamlessly back to your ordinary daily existence, you look at all of it and think, well, how could you ever possibly manage to do without it? You still interact with it somehow, you still do something with it.
All right, and along this journey, as you have mentioned, towards something higher, a person encounters various things. What specific things might they come across? Is it some kind of internal, maybe, struggle, or are these just inevitable changes that will happen there, that happen to them? What is on this path?
Of course, a person comes face to face with themselves, with their own foolishness, with their questionable decisions, with their questionable reactions. But what exactly do they encounter? With themselves. When you look at it, we have two distinct paths we can take for moving forward with this plan. Either we move depending on the current state of the source, or we move further away from it, the source in a state of complete degradation. Consequently, if a person moves from one place to another, toward the original, toward the absolute, they see all their shortcomings, all their crookedness, distortions, and spasmodic, degrading reactions. They see this. They understand that, yes, here I messed up, there I messed up, here I tensed up, there I became crystallized, here there's an outflow. This isn't a matter of relationships, money, or anything like that. The spiritual path is when you develop toward the original. I did all this not so long ago. All these experiences are still fresh for me right now. This is so far removed from things like the daily grind of work, material comforts, or, I don't know, the complexities of human relationships. What relationships? You're going to see God? What relationships at all? What are we even talking about? And naturally, if you already have these relationships, they get in your way, they prevent you from reaching Him, they get in the way, that's all. They'll be blown away, they'll just be carried off and disappear. But if your relationships don't get in your way at all, and sometimes even help you, then nothing will happen to them, everything will be just fine. And all of this comes from honesty, from the intention of the practitioner. Why are you pursuing spirituality? If you're pursuing spirituality to make money, then go make money. It's like when Medvedev once said that being a teacher is a calling. If you want money, go into business. It's the same with spirituality. It's a path to understanding reality. If you want money, there is...
All right, but is there some kind of final point to this path? You
You set it for yourself.
So it's not some kind of totally endless freedom? So a person just sets out for themselves, for example, their own goal, and then either reaches it or they do not?
The question of a person's intention isn't something that appears right away. At first, you try to figure out how this world works at all and what your place in it is. Is it true that I am a slave? Is it true that God needs something from me? Is it true that He punishes me? Or is He just messing with me like this just to make me dependent? And so when a person figures all this out, yes, they develop extrasensory abilities, energy, their inner strength, everything. It develops perfectly in them. But all of this is invested in awareness, who you truly are as an individual and the environment you are in. And so, after many decades, for example, however long it takes, on this path, when you are fully immersed in the state of awareness of the reality of what is actually happening right now, not just what people tell you. You're not satisfied with these stories. One person told you, another told you, a third told you, everyone told their own version differently, even contradicting each other. And so you sit there like this, wondering, how do I make sense of all this? And then at some point you say, okay, that's it, enough. All those who are telling stories, just put them aside off the table. Now I need someone who will show me how to see it for myself. And this person appears and says, look, you need to practice this. Through this practice, you'll reach that. Through this, you'll get to that. And here, it's quite possible that you'll be able to see for yourself. And now you're moving forward from the position of wanting to experience it personally for yourself. Experience, perception of this, perception of that, journeys here, journeys there, immersion in this, immersion in that. And so, when a practitioner has thoroughly navigated and integrated all of this, not just heard the teachings about it, but actually experienced it with their own body, energy, consciousness, and perception, it is only after reaching that profound stage that he can truly say, okay, now it has become clear to me what I should do with this and which direction I should take for my next steps. And at this moment, he defines his intention. This is where I want to go. And he starts moving in the direction he has chosen himself. And this could be a specific point. It's quite possible that someone might say, I want to be, I don't know, the king of the planet. Well, why not? No problem at all. But this will be a conscious, clear, well-considered decision. Not like a little child playing with toys and saying, I'm going to be an astronaut. And then spends their whole life working at McDonald's. In other words, these are completely different approaches. That's why people who pursue wealth through spirituality, it's a very strange process. But spiritual people are, for the most part, very wealthy. That's a fact.
Probably. But that logic, that's why they go there.
Yes, but that's not the logic here. First, you're driven by an inner interest. At first, you're obsessed with the process of discovery. You're not going there for the money. So it's a consequence.
Right? Well, it's simply a natural consequence.
It's a consequence, yes. If you just want cash, well, you shouldn't go into spirituality. Why? You go there for different reasons. You go there with a different motivation. And when you go through this path, when reality becomes as clear to you as 2 + 2 = 4, how could you possibly be poor? There's just no way. Everything is obvious to you. Everything is clear. That is, you easily handle these physical processes now. But you didn't go there to handle physical processes. You went there with a completely different motivation. That's how it is. The emphasis here is that people don't seek spirituality for that reason, not for 5 or even 10, and those who go there no longer care. They're concerned with who they are, what their true nature is, what they are a part of, and what all of this exists within. And only afterwards, yes, everything in your life becomes good, you live, you enjoy yourself, you take pleasure because everything is simply clear. But that's not the reason. And people who immediately turn to spirituality for money, they lack motivation. On the contrary, they become aggressive, embittered. Nothing works out for them. They're constantly, in this mindset where they want everything to happen by tomorrow. But no, it's not going to happen for you tomorrow. Sometimes it can take your whole life. So a person just ends up with even more problems because they're going in the wrong direction with the wrong motivation. But at the same time, yes, people who have sincerely sought to understand this reality, who have genuinely wanted to connect with their soul, I don't know a single problematic person among them. Everything is wonderful for them. And this wonderfulness doesn't stop them. They still continue to delve deeper into understanding this reality.
Anton, thank you for your answers. Be sure to write your questions and impressions in the comments. We read and look at everything. You will also find all the links in the description below the video.
95% of people don't even realize that within them lies a power that grants access to any possibility, a successful business, strong relationships, health, and self-fulfillment. It allows you to hear your soul and remember your true nature, your divine nature. This power is your energy. When it is blocked, you feel tired and upset. But when your energy flows freely and without obstacles, you are full of strength and capable of achieving any goal. Everyone can feel the movement of energy in their body. Are you ready to see this for yourself right now? I've prepared a practice where, in just 3 minutes, you'll become aware of the state of your energy and be able to activate the inner power that has been blocked for many years. The practice is available for a limited time. Right now, follow the link provided below the video and unlock the incredible source of power within yourself.